And now, words of wisdom with Adam Carriker.
Hey, Chuck, I've been wondering, you ever get in a perfectly good airplane and jump out of it for no apparent reason without so much as a parachute? Yeah, me neither. Awkward pause.
A little bit. And on that note, we welcome you to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player and a former pro wrestling announcer turned weight loss champion. He's Redskins defensive end Adam Carriker.
Howdy.
I am the weight loss champion / former pro wrestling announcer Chuck Carroll. That's a mouthful.
That is a whole mouthful.
We're gonna have to
figure
that. We're gonna figure that out. That's okay. We're ironing out some kinks.
We're
but
gonna
anyway,
have to give that a diet pill.
I like
that?
I do.
Yeah.
That's punny. That's
That's what I'm talking about.
And this is Fourth and Pain. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Fourth and Pain and on Facebook, facebook.com/Fourth and Pain, and of course fourthpain.com, all over the place. And you know what, Adam? As long as we're talking about tweets and social media and things of that nature, you wanted to ask the fans to help you out, right?
You know, I would like it. It's tough. You know, I got a little more spare time on my hands than normal, but it's still tough to come up with the words of wisdom 4 days a week for Fourth and Pain. So I am enlisting the help of all you Fourth and Painters out there. Hey, you like that?
Fourth and Painters.
Fourth and Painters. Send me your words of wisdom at Adam Carriker 94. DM me, and if I like it, I'll use it on the show and I'll give you a shout out. Send me, you know, you can. We do this a lot. So send me anything you like, anything you think is good. Don't be ridiculous, but if it's good and I like it, you could get your name shouted out here on Fourth and Pain.
You know what? And just follow me because I'm so close to that 1,000 follower mark. I got no words of wisdom. I'm at 995 right now. I am 5 away.
You gained 1 follower today. I saw your tweet. You were 6 away. You only gained 1 follower?
What can I say?
I'll have my wife log on. I'll have her start a Twitter right now and go follow you just so you can get that much closer.
I don't have the at Adam Carriker 94 swag, man. I'm at the Chuck Carroll. I'm severely lagging behind you in Twitter followers. But you know what? That's okay.
That doesn't mean your mama doesn't love you.
I just got to cross that 1,000 mark, and I'm going to be a happy man.
Well, it doesn't mean she loves you either. It just doesn't mean she doesn't.
Oh, my mom is all about me.
Oh, okay.
She's a Chuck Carroll fan. Of course, she calls me Charles, but that's, a whole nother thing.
Charles, I like that.
Charles, yeah, man.
That could be a new thing.
That's a power name, Charles
I like that.
Carroll.
Charles.
Yeah.
Charles in charge.
Family and every girl I've ever dated has called me Charles, so there you go.
Charles in charge.
Exactly, and I've only heard that my entire life.
I know.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm unoriginal.
All right, well, let's get
hashtag
to the
why
show.
I need help with words of wisdom. I don't know why I said hashtag, but I need help with words of wisdom.
Let's get down to the show, man. Let's start by talking a little bit more about this Felix Baumgartner guy who just goes up in a balloon, jumps 24 miles out of that balloon and plummets to Earth, breaks the sound barrier, goes supersonic there, and then come to find out, as your wife tells me, he also jumps out of planes without parachutes.
Well, now, I don't know if it's the same individual. You and I tried to look it up and find him doing it online, but we do know. Let me take a drink of water here real quick. Please fill the empty void.
What we do know, ladies and gentlemen, is Adam Carriker is drinking a little bit of water right now. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you. Sorry about that, Fourth and Painters. But basically, there is a man, and we believe it's this Baumgartner guy, but we couldn't find the video evidence of it. But he basically jumped out of an airplane without a parachute. And he essentially just had like these man-made wings, and he kind of glided down to Earth.
Well, they say Red Bull gives you wings. And he's sponsored by Red Bull, so I think that's a natural connection.
I like it.
I still think he's an idiot.
I 100% agree with you. What is wrong with you?
I mean, if he has all of this money, like he's got to be a Richard Branson type with just gobs and gobs of cash. And so if he has all of this money, like why would you want to like risk that and not risk not being around to enjoy all of this wealth? By jumping out of something without a parachute, jumping out of a balloon 24 miles up, parachute or not, that's still stupid.
Or out of an airplane with no parachute.
Stupid. It's all stupid.
Surprised my voice could get that high.
I don't get it. Tweet. You know what? This is a good opportunity to tweet us. Tweet us at Fourth and Pain. Let us know why you would do this. What would possess somebody to do something as stupid as jumping out of a plane without a parachute? Hashtag death wish.
Nice. I like it. Send us anything you can think of that's realistic and or made up, because I'm just so interested as to what's wrong with this individual.
I don't understand this man one little bit, but I do understand football. I understand that this is a football show.
Somewhat.
This is a sports show.
A little bit.
Let's talk a little bit of college football because this past Saturday, man, a couple of big things happened in my book. Number one, LSU actually winning against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Knock me over with a feather, my friend.
Here's what you've got to understand. Everyone's talking about LSU has no offense. LSU got spanked by Florida. Maybe a lot of people don't even think Florida's that good. I might actually be one of them. And it's just like, well, LSU can't be that good. This is college football. You're dealing with people who were fresh out of high school, maybe 4 years, 5 years at the most, young men, young adults. And it's just like you never know what you're going to get week from week. And the LSU team I saw on Saturday night in front of their home crowd versus the LSU team I saw in Gainesville on the road were two completely separate, different football teams. Same with South Carolina, playing at home versus on the road in Death Valley. And that's one of the top 5 toughest places to play in America. So I am not surprised they won. I still think South Carolina might be a little better team, but not on Saturday.
Well, it's a 2-point differential on the scoreboard, but the fact of the matter is the Tigers come out, they outgained South Carolina by nearly 200 yards. They held South Carolina to just 34 rushing yards on the day.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the week before, how bad did LSU's offense look against Florida? Florida's got a good defense, so does South Carolina, and then look what they do. So LSU does against South Carolina, who has, I just said, a very good defense. So it doesn't surprise me. College football is all about parity. It's all about you never know what you're going to get, from Saturday to Saturday. And that is why it's so much fun to watch.
So South Carolina tumbles all the way down to the 8th or 9th spot, depending on what poll you're looking at. Last week, we were just talking about, hey, should these guys be number 3 or should they be number 2? This week, they're lucky to be in the top 10. The other big upset of the week, well, maybe LSU wasn't so much of an upset, but here's your big one. Texas Tech, the unranked Texas Tech, 49. West Virginia, 5th ranked, 14. What in the world happened with the Mountaineers?
So I'm in the training room this week, and, I'm talking with Chris Neild.
Shocker.
Who is a former Mountaineer himself a couple years ago, just a couple years removed. And we are discussing this game versus Texas Tech that they're about to play. And I'm like, dude, I've played against Tech for 5 years, and I've watched them ever since they joined the Big 12. I think the Big 12 joined in 96, so about 16, 17 years, however long that is. And I'm like, here's what you're going to get from Texas Tech year in and year out. You're going to get a 7-4, 8-4, 9-3 team every year. Maybe 7-5 at the worst. They're not going to be a national title contender. What they're going to be is a team that pops up about once a year and beats a Texas, beats an Oklahoma, beats a top-rated team, and then goes back to just above being mediocre. And that's what they do, and that's who they are, and that's who they've always been. And that's exactly what they did to West Virginia. And they spanked them unmercifully. And it wasn't a shocker to me. I was surprised it was so bad, but West Virginia is one of those teams that's not used to being up there. And when you're up there every week, teams are coming after you. And Texas Tech is one of those teams that can come after you and surprise you.
Well, here's my question. Geno Smith's line on the night, 29 of 55 for a 275 and a touchdown. What does this do now with this loss? And I don't want to say that's a lackluster performance because, looking at the stat line, not altogether bad, but you got to think that this dings his Heisman chances a little bit. What do you think this does?
I mean, people were talking about after the Baylor game when he had 8 touchdowns, which was 2 more than passes he didn't complete. And people were talking about how he wrapped up the Heisman. I'm like, no, it's September. The season is so long. Things are going to change from week to week. I remember in 2000, and this isn't a bad game. It's just comparatively speaking to his other games, not up to snuff. But the thing is, he still played all right. There's still many games. He's still going to put up video game-like numbers. And I remember in 2001, Eric Crouch, Nebraska's number 1 team in the nation. We go in, we play Colorado. We lose 62-36. Crouch throws 2 or 3 interceptions, and then we don't play for a couple weeks. The other guys who are ahead of him in the Heisman go out, and they don't play great. And by him just simply doing nothing, he moved back to the front of the line and won the Heisman. The season is so long, so many things happen, and people forget from week to week. They're so, what just happened last weekend? And I think he's still going to win the Heisman, and he is not removed from the Heisman race. He's not even removed from being the front runner, not even close.
Another big game, Alabama, number 1, Crimson Tide. They just roll all over Missouri, 42-10. The Tide have 2 backs. Hear me now, 2 backs that go over the century mark. Eddie Lacy, TJ Yeldon combined for 321 yards and 5 scores. Until they lose, this is your number 1 team in the country on every single poll possible.
It is. I'm extremely annoyed by this, but it is. I don't like Alabama.
Florida, number 4.
By the way, go Tigers. I hate the Yankees.
Well, they're up to they got a good start in the ALCS. Florida, the 4th-ranked Gators, 31. Unranked Vanderbilt, 17. Florida does it on the ground, 326 of their 403 total yards on the ground. Jeff Driscoll, 77 passing yards, but hear me now, 177 on the ground, 3 scores to boot. Gators now 6-0 on the season, 5-0 in the conference, and you got to figure they're moving up the polls with that South Carolina loss.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that Florida and South Carolina play this week. The old ball coach goes back to his old stomping grounds, top 10 battle. I'm sure it'll be on Saturday Night TV. Who you like in that game?
Boy, you got to think, man, the Gamecocks are coming off of that loss. They're going to be fired up. They played LSU tight, but you got to think they're fired up, and they're playing in Florida, right?
Yep.
Nah. The edge goes to the Gators. That's going to be a fired-up crowd. I think the home crowd is going to do it for them.
I'm torn by this because part of me says they're going to be angry that they just lost to LSU and they're going to be fired up, especially the old ball coach going back home. Part of me says they're going to be dead because they just played a top 10, top 5 Georgia team last week or 2 weeks ago. Then they just went on the road, played a top 10 LSU team. Now they're going to go on the road, play the number 2 team in the nation according to the BCS and the Florida Gators. I think they're going to come out fired up early on, but I think 3 weeks in a row of playing teams like this is just going to be too much for them. And I think they're probably going to get an early lead, and I think they'll probably lose it because they're just going to be drained by the end of the game.
It's a game that I'm definitely going to be watching closely. I don't think that it's going to be a blow-up by any stretch, but I do think that Florida is going to win it probably by about 10. I'd say it's probably going to be in the ballpark of a 35-25 situation. Sound about right?
You know, perhaps. I think Florida's got a really good defense, so it's hard to imagine. And I don't know what their offense. I still don't believe in their offense. It's that great. I think it's going to be probably low 20s to high teens. I think it's going to be single digits.
Elsewhere in the top 10 this week, Kansas State 27, Iowa State Cyclones 21. That's a mouthful. Cyclones played this one tough. K-State moves up to number 4 in the rankings and remains undefeated, going 6-0 on the season. What do you have to say about this one? Brandon Banks, again, has to just be loving life right now.
I'm sure he is loving life, but here's the thing about Iowa State. They're like a Texas Tech, but worse. Like, they're going to go 3-8, 2-9, and then they're going to pop up and beat Oklahoma State last year and cause Oklahoma State not to get in the title game when they should have been in it anyways. And then they're going to challenge the Kansas State. You know, it's amazing to me because other than their quarterback, I can't tell you one single player on Kansas State's team other than Colin Klein. I can't tell you one other guy. I don't know if they have a top draft pick. I think, you know, once again, we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Bill Snyder's just a good coach, runs a good program. I'm not his biggest fan. I'm a Nebraska guy. But I respect what he does, and he's got them back on the rise. It's very impressive.
And for me, the game of the week, shocker, here's where the homer card comes out. Notre Dame 20, Stanford 13 in overtime. Of course, the Irish with that huge goal line stand in overtime shut down the Cardinal.
He got in.
Stephon Taylor.
He got in.
Had 4 tries to punch it in from the 4-yard line, but the Irish would not yield the score.
It was a touchdown.
6-0 on the season, ranked number 5 in the polls, but number 1 in your hearts.
I saw that rough. He put his glasses on after he walked off the field.
Nope.
He couldn't see it.
6-0.
Well, they are 6-0. I'm just saying the guy got in. Well, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm just saying he got in.
Win is a win is a win.
I mean, Seattle did not beat Green Bay, and Notre Dame did not beat Stanford. That game is a tie, as a matter of fact.
Nah, that's a Notre Dame win. Sorry.
But you got to take him. You ain't had many in the past 20 years, so I don't blame you.
Hey,
I'm fighting words.
Facing BYU this week, but looking past that, then the big showdown in Norman against Oklahoma. That's the one that has me nervous.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Oklahoma goes into Texas Tech, spanks them. They absolutely bloody the crap out of Texas's whole, not even their face, just everywhere. They can't even walk right now. The Longhorns are so wounded. And they're going to have to go into Oklahoma in a couple of weeks and play them. And then they got USC later on down the road. They got a tough schedule.
Yeah, well, they got a couple of softballs in Boston College and Wake Forest. But beyond that, I mean, it is just a brutal finish of the season for the Irish. But you know what? Put up time. Nobody expected Brian Kelly's squad to be 6-0 at this point in the season, yet here they are. So this is by far the very best Irish squad that we have seen in a number of years. Oh, by the way, is Philip Daniels just like over the moon happy at Redskins Park?
Every Friday, I'm in the training room, and he walks down there. He's got his stupid green hat on with his stupid green shirt. I can't call him stupid. He's just supporting his son. But it's just annoying because he just comes in talking trash. I'm like, what about Georgia? He's like, what about Georgia? Let's talk Notre Dame. I'm like, well, they're not that good either. They would have lost to, who did LSU almost lose to? Towson. They would have lost to Towson a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
I will say this.
Wow.
If Notre Dame, let's say they go undefeated, they will have beaten Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, Miami, Stanford, USC. Who else we got? Oklahoma on the road. Even though Miami's not that good this year, some of the major powerhouses in college football this year. Kind of like what Notre Dame used to be.
Man, I'm just enjoying this season.
30 years ago.
All right. Well, let's talk about the. Shut up, man. You gotta love Notre Dame.
Why are you so angry?
Because
angry
I'm
retorts.
Irish.
Be
Because
clever,
I'm
not
Irish.
angry.
Top 5 time.
Go take a drink.
No, I don't drink. Top 5
Liar.
time. You have your top 5?
I have my top 5.
All right. Who you got at the 1 seed? Let's peel that back.
Nick Saban's boys.
Yeah, shocker. 2 seed.
I got the fighting fast green men of Oregon.
Yeah, despite the bye week, until proven otherwise, they're going to be the 2. At number 3.
To me, 3, 4, and 5 are kind of all close and interchangeable. I go with Florida just simply because they beat LSU pretty convincingly.
Ditto. Number 4.
I got Kansas State because they won in Norman over Oklahoma.
Number 4. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Kansas State for me.
Michigan's
5.
not even that good. Michigan State's not even that good. Miami, well, they're Miami of what you'd expect on probation, so overrated.
But they're the Irish.
Exactly. Notre Dame, number 5.
All right, there you go. It's the top 5.
I just love making you mad. It's so much fun.
Well, I know. You've done it since we met 3 years ago.
That is not true.
No, it's
true. It
true.
did not start until this show
It's
started.
true. No, here's the thing. True story, # pillar of honesty. First time I met this guy, he kicked me in the jimmies and started laughing. True story. This is
That,
what he
ladies
does.
and gentlemen, is a bunch of bull.
Almost got him. Almost got him. Almost got him. So you honestly think, wrapping up putting the bow on the college football segment, you really think that Geno Smith, despite this loss, despite that outing this week, still your number 1 Heisman contender? But how much, if you wanted to put a percentage on it, how much have the other guys crept back into the picture at this point?
Well, before this weekend, there was nobody in the picture. There's a list, and there's 3 to 4 of the names on it just because there has to be a list of 4 to 5 guys. But Geno was capitalized, bold, italicized, underlined, and all that stuff you do on a Word document, which I used to do, but I don't do anymore. I actually do have another guy that I like. And basically, I watched him run all over Nebraska. I watched him do it with a bad ankle. I watched him get carried off. Well, not carried off the field, but helped off the field, missed some plays, then came back, then ran all over Nebraska. I watched him get not carried off. I think he might have been carried off against Michigan State, come back, then close out the game against Michigan State. Braxton Miller of Ohio State, the dude has been hurt. Every game he inevitably has to come out because he's fighting through this ankle injury that he's got, and then he leads his team to victory. And when he's running on the field, you have no idea there's anything wrong with him. Then he's walking and he's limping, and he's just playing amazing. So I got Geno Smith, number 1. I got Braxton Miller. He's creeping up there a little bit. Ohio State wasn't great this weekend, but Braxton, to me, he's had a great season so far. And I'm still, Manti, you haven't heard his name for a while, but I'm still sticking with Manti Te'o. I got to represent for the defensive players. I'm tired of it being a popularity contest. I'm tired of the Heisman just being the best player on the best team. I was so happy to see Robert win it last year because Baylor was clearly not the best team, but he was clearly the best player. But you got to start looking at these offensive linemen. You got to start looking at defensive players. It's not just a quarterback, running back, sometimes wide receiver race. It's the most outstanding football player in college football, not just the prettiest pretty boy on the prettiest team.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Manti Te'o, if this was just a ballot based on heart and desire to win, he would hands down be the number 1 guy just by a runaway. Like, could not be a wider margin. Manti Te'o, this is going to be a first-round pick, and this guy, talk about an NFL pedigree. He has everything that you could possibly want. He's got the size, the dedication, the drive, and oh, by the way, he is a leader. He is the leader of that Irish locker room. This is a guy that when his girlfriend and his grandmother passed away, stayed with the team, played with the heaviest of hearts, pushed through, and the team still, he carried them on his shoulders. It wasn't the other way around. He still goes out there and balls hard. That's the kind of guy this is. That's the kind of pedigree Manti Te'o has. Will be a first-round pick for somebody and do big things in the NFL. Guaranteed.
Absolutely. That's why he's my number 3 on my Heisman ballot right now. Well, not that I've got a ballot, but on my list.
All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up, shall we?
Are we not talking any wrestling?
Well, I mean, you see that we're 22 minutes and change
Well, let's
into
just
this
keep
thing?
it under 30 minutes.
All right. Wrestling.
Let's talk some wrestling.
Let's talk wrestling. Coming up this, 2 Sundays from now, Hell in the Cell pay-per-view.
Little pay-per-view.
The other big title match, we've talked a lot about CM Punk and what he's going to do. But let's talk a little bit about Sheamus and The Big Show. Of course, we saw on SmackDown this past week, The Big Show's knockout punch, supposedly bigger than or more powerful than Sheamus's bro kick. I want to know, though, Sheamus, too. We always talk about, how long CM Punk has had the title, but Sheamus now has carried it since WrestleMania. That's a good 6 months. And so you have 2 long-tenured champions. Can you envision a scenario where both CM Punk and Sheamus have held the title as long as they have headed into Royal Rumble and perhaps even WrestleMania next spring?
I mean, they both held it this long. I'd be surprised if CM Punk lost it at Hell in the Cell. Sheamus, I mean, I'm the only guy that likes the Big Show as a champion. So the Big Show's not going to win. Nobody else seems to like a big guy as a champion but me. But I'm actually kind of interested to see, who Sheamus faces after Big Show. I'm just assuming he wins. Who's going to be the next guy? Is it going to be Alberto Del Rio for the 45th time? Is Big Show going to rise up again? Is The Undertaker going to come back, have some match with him for the world title at WrestleMania? I'm curious to see how that's going to play out.
Well, Dolph Ziggler is sitting there in the wings waiting to cash in his money in the bank, obviously. But then...
I thought you said Adolf.
Adolf Hitler.
No, not Adolf Hitler. I thought you said Dolph Lundgren.
No. Dolph
That's
Ziggler
why I laughed. I apologize, folks.
is sitting there waiting to cash in his title. Yes, Ivan Drago will be cashing in. And then also, of course, you've got Alberto Del Rio, who seems to want to stay in this title picture. Randy Orton also there as well.
I think a Viper needs to get a chance. It's been a while since he's been champ. When's the last time?
Yeah, at least a couple of years.
We need to have an Orton. Orton strikes. The Viper strikes.
Well, how would you start this feud, though? I mean, he's currently ingrained. He's battling Alberto Del Rio y El Mexicano Rodriguez. Pero Dolph Ziggler's doing his thing. Like, how is the Viper going to fit in at this point? It doesn't make sense. The natural progression.
Well, it's not like it has to happen in a week. You got months.
Well, haven't you noticed that as soon as a feud has ended, and I assume that the Big Show Sheamus feud is going to end at Hell in the Cell, the very next show, the next feud starts?
Well, then that's it. Randy Orton beats Alberto Del Rio. Sheamus beats Big Show. And then Randy Orton comes out and out of nowhere, RKO's Sheamus after the match, setting up the next match. Well, it's way too simple. It'll never happen like that. But that's all I could come up with on spur of the moment.
Well, that's all right. Here's kind of what I think. I think that it's going to move into another feud. Dolph Ziggler is going to kind of fall off. He's going to start feuding with somebody else. And so you're going to forget about Dolph Ziggler in this title picture. He's going to stop talking about it. He's going to stop threatening to cash in that Money in the Bank. And so that when he finally does it, you get that element of surprise. And so perhaps it comes after you get your Randy Orton, and they do the thing where, well, he wins the belt, and then immediately after, Dolph Ziggler comes out, cashes in, capitalizes on the moment, wins the title for himself.
I could see that. I don't want to see. They just did that basically with the Big Show. The Big Show won the title and lost it like 2 seconds later. I don't want to see that again, but I could see something to that effect. Absolutely. I see Ziggler taking a little break, coming out. Whoever the champ is, shocking everybody. Oh, yeah, he is Mr. Money in the Bank. Oh, yeah. Oh, crap. And then he's world champ. Just out of the blue. I could see that happening.
And then Kane, Daniel Bryan, we still don't know who their competitors are going to be at the pay-per-view, but I can envision a scenario where Team Hell No loses those straps. They just mean too much. And yes, we did see both Kane and Daniel Bryan in singles action on SmackDown last week. I believe that Daniel Bryan actually lost his match, which is really interesting.
A little interference with Ricardo Rodriguez.
You like the Rodriguez bit.
But
the bottom line is that is too good for business. You got to figure the T-shirts are coming. Okay, the action figures are coming. The best of Team Hell No on DVD is coming.
It's going to go that far?
The Lost Anger Management sessions coming to pay-per-view. Frankly, if they have the Lost Anger Management sessions, I'm going to purchase it. Why? Because those things are comedic gold, Adam.
I completely agree with you. I think they're going to keep it going. I'm with you with the merchandise. That's going to be cool. I think it's going to culminate with them surprisingly losing the belts to somebody, and it's going to end up with a one-on-one singles match between the two of them at WrestleMania. But that's months down the road, so I think they're going to keep this going until WrestleMania approaches.
You know who they may lose it to? Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara?
No, Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara are going to battle each other at WrestleMania.
Well,
we called this months ago.
That's what I'm saying. They may lose it to them. They in turn will lose it perhaps to our friend Titus O'Neil and Darren Young, the primetime players. And then you have two, great singles matches at WrestleMania.
I like
that. Dude, do you know how pumped up I would be for Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara at WrestleMania? Okay, people say, well, Rey Mysterio isn't as big of a name as he used to be. And who is this Sin Cara guy? He looks pretty cool, but really, who is he? Let me tell you something, Adam. I guarantee you put these two in a singles match on that stage, off the hook.
I completely agree with you.
Something you have never seen before. You're talking about legitimate lucha libre pedigree guys. You're talking about a AAA style match, something that this country very rarely sees, worth the WrestleMania price on its own. You're going to see stuff I can't even comprehend. It makes me want to eat a burrito.
That's not on your diet, though, is it?
No.
That's okay. We can make an exception.
Burrito.
A veggie, I like it. I completely agree with you. I couldn't agree with you anymore. In fact, with all the spare time I got, I've been on my computer. I've been going back watching old Goldberg matches, Goldberg versus Lesnar, Goldberg versus The Rock, and I ran across this video, Rey Mysterio versus Kevin Nash, back from WCW. And first of all, Rey Mysterio does not have a mask. I'd never seen him without his mask before.
Oh, back when he was with the No Limit Soldiers?
An extremely young Rey Mysterio, and he ends up beating Kevin Nash. Oddly enough, the size disadvantage was amazing to see, but he beats him in this match. And some of the moves he pulled off, I could see him and Sin Cara in that ring. It would just be amazing. It would be awesome. It would be epic.
Well, you want to, man, see, now you've opened the door. Now you've gone and done it, because that makes
I've gone and done it.
Like, you remember, like, WCW back in the day, they used to often open the show, or at least in that 8 o'clock hour, it was all of these lucha guys, La Parca, Psychosis, El Dandy, these guys that would come in and just put on Juventud Guerrera, for God's sakes. Whatever happened to him, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he was a hell of a worker. These guys would go in there and they would do things on Monday nights, the likes of which us, Shea Whiteys have not seen in this country. Why? Because it's all been happening south of the border. And if WWE opens this door a little bit and lets that lucha style come back, man, you're talking about big time things. Oh, by the way, our buddy Chris Jericho, I call him our buddy because, well, he's just the man. He really got his big start south of the border as well and was trained in that lucha style, in addition to Japan. But this guy, they used to call him Corazon de Leon, heart of the lion. That's where he got that gimmick.
Like it.
Down there south of the border. And so he learns this style as well. And that's where he got all of this charisma and learned to work on the microphone and really, become this heel, this over-the-top, thing. Down there he was maybe like this surfer gimmick type thing. But whatever, man. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. I'm rambling. I could go on and on about lucha stuff.
I think basically we agree. Kane, Daniel Bryan, Sin Cara, Rey Mysterio.
Right.
Epic.
Kane, Daniel Bryan, not going to be a lucha style match though.
Well, that's not what I was. I was just saying great matches for WrestleMania. I would look forward to Rey Mysterio, Sin Cara more than Daniel Bryan, Kane. To be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. That's got to be one of the main events, just because of what it is. It won't, sell any, outside of guys like me, the wrestling purists, it's not going to be billed as the main event, because we all know the main event is going to be John Cena versus The Rock in a rematch.
No. God.
But
you're killing me, Smalls.
But it will be a hell of a match. Hey, now we're fresh out of time, because know what?
We're well over time.
We are in overtime. We are in overtime. Because you
rambled. But hey, I rambled too.
Yeah, these things happen.
It happens.
But on that note, I'm Chuck Carroll. Thank you so very much for believing in our weirdness.
I'm Adam Carriker. Largest arms on the D-line. Peace out, home skillet.